most students would like to hear tips on how to start their career in finance. So to help us with this discussion, we will be calling on Mr. Edmund, who will be the host for this portion. And Mr. Lee is the president of
Calum Training Institute. So just a reminder, you can send your questions through Twitter at CFA Philippine. So with that, please give a warm round of applause.
Alright, so next up we'll be having a panel discussion. And the panel that will be part of this discussion will be Mr. Felix Bustos Jr. He is the president of the National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation. So a round of applause for him, our first panelist. The second panelist will be Ms. Aira Gaspar, CFA, who is actually the Chief Investment Officer of Manulife, Philippine. So a round of applause for our second panelist, please. Our third, Ms. Ginaflor Oris, CFA, the Chief Financial Officer of Makati Development Corporation. Another round of applause. And to complete this panel, we have Mr. Philip Zemen, CFA, the Head of Data Interpretations for IFS. So we're very lucky to have this panel with us today. Please give a round of applause to welcome them all. So again, to facilitate this panel, may we call in back Mr. Lee.
Morning everybody, it's a pleasure. Now, this is a wonderful discussion for everybody, young adults, such as myself also, in this discussion. So I'm sure let's keep the discussion as easy and helpful as forward. So the first question, I'm sure, which is on top of most people's minds, is that how important today is having a credential, such as a master's degree, or any form of advanced degree of education when pursuing a career in finance? Anyone? Aira?
I think advanced education enhances the skills and expands the knowledge of an individual. It can actually open hiring opportunities and even career advancement, provided the individual can demonstrate and apply the key learnings. However, the relevant work experience is still a key consideration for hiring employees, particularly for senior positions.
But what about those students, for example, just starting? Should they think about pursuing an advanced career right away? Or is it more important that you get the work experience first, and then later on you start to think of an advanced higher degree? What do you think?
Well, in my view, it's better to gain some work experience first before pursuing the MBA education, because in that way you could better appreciate the key learnings in further studies.
Philip, you have something to say? Philip?
Yeah, well, I think the formula depends on the person. I, for instance, pursued an advanced degree and did not have any work experience. So it depends on the person. I do think in the big picture, you do need an advanced degree these days. When and how to get there, probably depends on the person, but I would agree that an advanced degree in finance or economics or business and the CFA designation, of course, helps.
Yes, of course, the CFA designation. Because I think the biggest challenge, especially as we see today, we have 3,400 students and young professionals here today. So I really believe that the biggest challenge is how do you, in such a competitive place today, right? I mean, what's the best advice that maybe, Sir Felix, maybe you can share something? The best advice that you can give to young graduates or those wanting to work in the finance but are looking for managerial or higher positions as their first job? Sir Felix?
Well, when we hire, HR manager and I wanted some theoretical background. We look for something which we call competency rather than the typical thing you look at is knowledge, skills of a person. But I think competency involves three things: knowledge, skills, and something called attitude. Okay? And we feel competency, which is a combination of the three, is really an underlying characteristic of a person which enables them to deliver superior performance in any job or situation. It's not biased, and a lot of research in the academia shows it can be learned and developed over time. So what I'm saying when I interview, I don't really ask economics, finance, or accounting questions. I really ask very specific questions in the attitude. Tell me about some stressful situation or some learning situation that you've encountered and how you cope with it. I want to see what sort of work attitude the person will be. Is he an open person? Does he have the animal spirit that is mentioned by a speaker rather than somebody who's focused on counting? Because to me, those are knowledge and skills which can be learned. The attitude of the person is what I look for.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just about the skills that you learn in class. What's also equally important is your attitude, your personality, how you deal with situations. And maybe, ma'am, Ms. Gina, do you have something to
I
add?
would like to caution some people who might be thinking that an MBA or a CFA charter is a sure passport for success in a career. For various reasons, I think Felix rightly said that you have to have the right attitude, the work ethic, and if you're going to pursue an MBA or a master's in finance, pursue it for the right reason. Like, I can only, of course, cite my own experience. My undergraduate degree was not in management or finance. I was a computer science and mathematics graduate from the Ateneo. But then, when I started working, and I started from the bottom as an analyst in the MIS department of a company, that's when I got exposed to finance, and that's when I realized that, maybe finance is for me, and maybe in the future I would be occupying a managerial position. And therefore, since I didn't have any management exposure in my undergraduate degree, I would have to complement my work with the academics necessary through getting an MBA. And that's when I started thinking about where to get my MBA. And then when I started working in a bank, that's when the CFA charter was being introduced here in the Philippines. And that's also when I decided that I would like to stay in the financial services industry or pursue a career that's focused on finance, and maybe the CFA charter would be helpful for me. So that's probably how someone like me would think of how MBA or a charter would boost my career, but it could be different for other people. So I think more important is what you really want to do in life, or if you're not yet decided, try to get exposed to as many disciplines that are possible to get exposed to, and then you decide, and then complement work experience with academics, and just go from there.
Dina is a good example, just to show you how old I am. Dina was my student. And like she said, she did not have a finance background. She got AIM. It was so many, I will not say, maybe a few years ago. But you could see on day one that she would make, I would hire her even before the MBA, because she asked questions. And I always tell my students, AIM would mean Asian Institute of Management, but I always like the definition Asian Institute of Mistakes. Because I tell them you can make a million mistakes as long as you're new every day. You should learn from mistakes. And and Gina would ask questions, and then people were afraid to ask questions because they don't want to look stupid. But I always say, if you ask questions, and as BSP governor said the same thing, that's the best way to learn. So, like I said, even on day one, I would have hired Gina even before she got her degree of AI.
I hope AIM does not remember that. Right? These wonderful piece of advice. But I think the biggest challenge, for example, yes, we talk about the MBA, we talk about CFA designation, but how big is the workforce in terms of the finance industry? In terms of you guys all come from different areas, from Manulife, from ISS, to Mortgage Finance Association. How big is hiring, for example, job openings within your fields? Is it something constant? I mean, every single year you're looking for opportunity to hire some people, very driven people, or are you guys full in terms of capacity?
So there's always demand for talented people. I think the beauty of building a career in finance is that it gives you a lot of flexibility. So you don't have to be involved in purely finance work. You can branch out into other areas of work.
Sure, ISS is also growing. We're looking for talented people every year. And we want people who ask a lot of questions, who are motivated, who are enthusiastic, and who express a willingness to learn. So we also really emphasize that in addition to degrees, designations. It's really who the person is, and is this person going to study, self-study, learn as much as they can on their own, be proactive, ask questions. I think those are as important or more in many cases as the education itself.
Well, as one of our speakers said on the slide, the specific finance sector, insurance, bank, it's about 21%. But there are other sectors that hire finance professionals. So, for example, if you look at my very long life, I work in garments, I work in cement, I work in consulting, I work in academics for a long time, and I'm now in government. But the basic thing I do is still finance. So when you look at the statistics, the pie that was shown, even though the finance sector is really banking, insurance, is just 21, and the others are bigger, but those other big sectors also hire finance professionals. So that's to me the big reason why you guys, most of the people here are in the right track to career.
In the sector where I'm in construction. Makati Development Corporation is a wholly owned subsidiary of Ayala Land, and it's the construction arm. So we do almost all the construction of the Ayala malls, the various condominiums, hospitals, resorts, office buildings that you see all over the country. So we have a need for finance people because each project that we undertake has to have a financial controller. So if we have like over 200 projects, a financial controller can handle like one or two projects at the same time. So we're always in need for people to act as controller in our construction projects. And then we, in the Ayala group, we are in constant need of analysts, and of course, in our banking subsidiary, BPI, there is always a need for talent in the company. So I think it's good that we have venues like this so people will know what choices they have in terms of career. So people also mature to a certain level in the organization, and at some point they also realize that maybe finance is not for them, so they move out of finance. So there will always be a gap that can be filled by people who are interested to come into the finance function or financial services industry.
So we talk a lot about academics, graduates, talents, the different kinds of attitudes. Maybe there's a specific skill set that you guys are interested particularly in fresh and new hires. Maybe you could guys give us 2 or 3 important skill sets that you always look for in new hires. Anyone? Philip?
Sure. I think not so much a skill set, but in a new hire, I want to see a willingness to learn mindset, someone who's going to really be eager and proactive to progress. And of course, in our line of business, which is corporate governance, we also want to see a strong ethical foundation as well. Skills, sure, we want to see a certain set of academic background skills, but I think more important, because we do so much training in-house, is the attitude and what the person brings in terms of willingness to learn, proactiveness, and enthusiasm.
Academics still play a huge role for you.
Absolutely.
Sarah?
For example, depending on what type of career in finance you would like to pursue. So, for example, if you want investment management, you need to develop your full management, financial analysis skills. But I also agree that apart from the technical skills, it's also important that the candidate or the person must be able to demonstrate the passion to excel, the willingness to learn. So those aspects or characteristics would really help a person to grow professionally.
Well, I will use a technical term, it's genius for familiar with. When we interview students, we give them some sort of a case that gives them a situation, which is basically a problem. I personally look for them to see the core skills, which is summarized in the AI and terminology we call it SAPA, DAPA, which is they analyze the situation, this SA, and they see what is the real problem, that particular case that I give them. And then they do the decision, what do I do, what are the alternatives, and they decide. And then I also require them to do a PPE, which is potential problem analysis, meaning after I make the decision, we make the decision what could go wrong and what do we do in case that thing that goes wrong actually happens. So if I see them are able to analyze the situation, come up with alternatives, make a decision, and go to this problem analysis, then for me, I can teach that guy how to do Excel, how to do web C, calculator, or whatever. But if I can see that they think, they analyze the equation and make a decision, then I have no problem getting that person.
For me, we look at academics, but we don't usually choose especially for the starting positions, like honor graduates or from top tier schools, because we've had some experiences where usually the top graduates from top tier schools would have this air of they know everything, and they feel that they're privileged, or that we are privileged to hire them. And for us, it's important that who we hire is willing to work hard and be a key member in the company. So you can't be so know-it-all when you enter the organization, when you just graduated. You have to learn. You have to invite, the corporate culture. You have to be willing to work under people. No airs of superiority. You have to be a team player. That's very important for us, especially in our industry. You have hundreds, thousands of people doing their contribution to be able to erect a structure to complete a project. So no single person can claim credit for doing something good. So you have to be a team player.
Amazing, great piece of advice. Now, this is actually my favorite question, because it's actually a situation that I also belong to. So, how comparable is a career in finance in the Philippines versus working abroad? And what do you think you should tell every single person here? Work here or go abroad?
Okay, I just get started, I guess, because age before beauty. Anyway, my experience happened in the reverse. I went to graduate school abroad, and I came back. Although I worked there for a while. The big thing going reverse is a cultural difference. Because when I worked for Pricewaterhouse in New York, I called my boss John or Peter or Billy. We go out drinking afterwards in Samantha. I noticed when I went out to Billy, there's a cultural norm. Wow, there's a age gap. You don't hang around with the boss, you call them sir. even when you write a memo, I could write a memo to the senior partner of Pricewaterhouse and say, memo to JR, Chandler, or whatever. They don't bother. I found out when I worked in the Philippines, when you're writing a memo to somebody higher than you, the cultural norm is memorandum board. And in your equal, you can say too, but there's a cultural thing that you have to determine when you're going from the west of the...
So it's not just about the monetary aspect, but also the culture adaptation that you also have to go through.
I think that's amazing. And I suppose it goes the other way. But I think then I went back in 81 and worked in California. I think the big thing I thought was that they're not really too particular about the academics or it's what you've done. Obviously, even though I graduated from UP, nobody knew what UP was in LA or whatever. So you have to show them what you can do, and until you show them what you've done, you're nothing, even though you're the owner's representative. They're not impressed. It's really more show me what you've done when you're going from the east to the west. That's it to bring it up.
What about the others? Is the grass greener at the backyard or in a different country?
I'm in a unique situation because I work for a global organization. So I don't have to choose between do I have to work here or work abroad. So what's good about working for a global organization like Manulife is that you get the dual benefits of being on the ground, so you're updated of the developments. At the same time, gain exposure to people of varied expertise or areas of specialization, and also get to work with people of different nationalities.
I worked abroad for 2 years, but within Asia, so it's not as different as working in the West, like Felix did. No? But for me, it's good for a few years, so you get exposed to other cultures and you know how the environment is like in other countries. But it would always be good to come back to the Philippines. I think for me, I was working for 2 years there until somebody told me that, how come you're helping us here in our country? Why don't you help your country? And since I was actually an Asian Development Bank scholar and I was also a scholar in college, that's when it really hit me and said, yeah, what am I doing in another country and why can't I? Of course, I was part of the OFW that contribute to the Philippines, so in a way I'm helping, but it's also good to be able to work here in the Philippines, mentor people, bring back the exposure that you've gained to enrich the work that you do for a Philippine company, for Filipino, for the Filipinos in your company. So at some point, and maybe depending on other factors, just siguro Tagalogin ko na naiintindihan ko na yung mga iba talagang mangingibang bansa dahil sa pangangailangan. At totoo naman na walang oportunidad dito sa ating bansa para sa lahat. So, siguro, para sa iba, kung yun yung makabubuti sa kanila, sa pamilya nila, gawin nila. Pero siguro yung puso nila, manatili pa rin na sa Pilipinas, makakatulong pa rin naman sila dahil sa mga remittances na may babalik nila dito sa Pilipinas. At siguro sabi nga ni Lola ni Dora, sa tamang panahon, siguro umuwi kayo sa Pilipinas at tumulong din dito sa ating bansa.
For those who don't speak in Filipino, what Ms. Gina said is that whenever you go out, remember, never forget to come back home. Okay, so we'll just end the panel discussion with one last question. And I think it's the biggest benefit for all. So, maybe we can start with you, Philip. What's the biggest benefit of pursuing a career in finance versus other industries? Or should we tell everybody here, just stick to finance, it's the best opportunity?
Everybody has to find their own way and what they want. I think one benefit of finance is that it really helps you in your personal and family life as well. So that's the side benefit. But in terms of choosing a career, you really have to determine where do you want to take your life. If it happens to be finance, that there are many benefits in terms of personal finance, family planning, that are definitely benefits in terms of having a prosperous life.
I think, as I said earlier, that a career in finance offers a lot of flexibility. So I'm a certified public accountant by academic profession, or academic background rather. But I decided to pursue investment management, so I took the CFA program. So the career in finance is not limited to purely finance work, because it can also pave the way for general management positions.
I think, well, the first is flexibility. You can work anywhere. You can work in government. I will plug, right? If you go to our website, nhmfc.gov.ph, we have some vacancies. As the speaker mentioned, the government salaries are about to be increased from Felix. And second, I think literacy. You can go anywhere and speak the same language, so you can work Hong Kong, Singapore, Kazakhstan, Timbuktu, and still be able to do financial analysis, economic analysis, research.
I think in most businesses and most organizations, one of the key metrics for success or failure is financial. So being a finance professional allows you to have that ability to translate so many other performance indicators ultimately into financial measures and be able to interpret that and help management in driving the direction of your strategies, etc. So I think being in finance is an advantage to be able to general management, but also to be a key contributor to any organization that you're in, whether in government, business, or NGOs.
Okay, wonderful. I think time's running out. Thank you so much. Philip, Ms. Aira, Sir Felix, Gina, I think we're good.